presentation, and we actually have our presenters, Mr. Wood. I'm going to make you a co-host. We have Vispero, who is actually going to be doing a presentation on one of the more popular assistive technologies that's out there. It's Zoom Text and JAWS. Vispero, they're a leading industry company that does a lot. I think specifically focuses on visual impairments. But of course, I will let Mr. Wood talk about that. Mr. Wood, are there some other individuals I need to make as co-host?
Hey, Giovanni, yes. If you could also make James Bailey and Douglas Gary co-host as well. Appreciate it.
Okay, hold on a second. I will do that.
Thanks.
You said James Bailey, right?
Yes. And Douglas Gary.
Douglas Garrett is. Thought I saw him earlier. Is he on here?
I see my friend James there.
Hey guys.
Hey James, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. Douglas Gary. I'm not sure. But I believe either one of you could also make him a co-host if you see him. I don't see him in.
Awesome.
Just the floor is yours, and thank you for presenting at the Enable conference.
Yeah, no worries. We appreciate your invite and look forward to it. Seriously, this is great. Thank you. Let me pull up here the participants and see if I see Douglas jump on. No, I'll keep an eye out here, James, for Douglas as well. So I do have some slides that I'm going to pop up here and share. All right. And there we go. Douglas just popped on. So let me make him the co-host and then we can kick off. Or I think it did.
So Douglas is on now?
I just admitted him from the waiting room, but is he not showing up? Oh, yep, there he is. Okay.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay,
There you go.
How are you guys doing?
it's very good.
Doing well, Douglas. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
So thanks again, Giovanni and gang for the invite. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we, James, I'll pass it off to you to kick it off with the intros for Vispero and whatnot.
It's very good. Hey, I certainly want to extend my thanks to Dr. Felix for inviting us to participate in this event. I know this was originally scheduled back in October, I believe, and due to, I guess, scheduling conflicts and what, here we are today, right, December 2nd. So my name is James Bailey, and I'm joined today by two of my colleagues here, Michael Wood and Douglas Gary. Combined, the three of us have more than 45 years plus of industry experience as it relates to assistive technology. Okay, so in my role, I'm the director for Southeast US, and Douglas Gary is our national software manager, and Michael Wood is our strategic accounts manager for education on a national level. Okay, so we three of us have obviously varying responsibilities, but as a team, we cover practically all of it for our companies. So in this session, you'll cover, you'll learn about who Vispero is, the benefits of our software as it relates to Microsoft and Google, the seamless interface for those platforms, which product is best for you and your students. Today, obviously, we'll be speaking about JAWS, Zoom Text, and Fusion. There's going to be an explanation of the various software licenses that are available, from individual use to, enterprise applications and so forth. There's going to be a Q&A session, and then some general information and training and support. All right, so Vispero, to some of you on this webinar, Vispero might be a new name to you in the AT or assistive technology industry. But in fact, Vispero is made up of two Latin words, visio and spero. Visio meaning vision and spero meaning hope. So combined, we're providing hope to visually impaired and blind individuals globally. While company Vispero was formed in 2016, it is combined of familiar names to you: Freedom Scientific, Optelect, Enhanced Vision, and of course the Paciolo Group. And these companies have a rich history of AT or assistive technology dating back to 1975. So to some of you, if not most of you, those names are household names. We have an extensive knowledge base of engineers and users who are involved in the development and distribution of these products. And we enable our end users to gain an education, gainful employment, and succeed in their professional and independent lives. Our products are available in over 70 countries and 20 plus different languages. And we are experts in the field of low vision and blindness hardware and software products. And so that's a snapshot of what Vispero is, or we are. And I like to kind of say to my audience that, hey, every single day we make a positive impact in the lives of someone who is visually impaired or blind, whether it be from JAWS or ZoomText software to a braille display or a video magnifier, commonly known as a CCTV. And so here I will hand it over to Mike and to Douglas to speak to you specifically about software products.
Thanks,
Thank you,
James.
James.
So the first slide here, talking about the products, are basically images of the packages that you would receive or you would have received. Now most of our stuff is digital. We're not shipping out boxes of software anymore. But kind of go over the three major software products that we wanted to talk about on today's presentation, and kind of the benefits and best fit for you or your student base. And we just released, Douglas, when was 2021 released? It was just October, right?
November, actually, November 15th.
Okay.
We were a little late this year.
So we always shoot for right around the same exact time frame every year. So end of October, beginning of November, I guess, is kind of that area, that sweet spot. So here's an image of ZoomText, and ZoomText is, of course, your magnification software. JAWS is going to be your screen reader, and then Fusion, which is, pun intended, the two fused together, your magnification and screen reading capability in that one product. And we'll go more into depth with this today and give the benefits and best fits for those. So next slide here is on ZoomText in general. Douglas, you want to take that one?
Sure. ZoomText comes in two different flavors. Magnifier, which is just magnification, that it includes color enhancements and different kinds of ways to magnify and navigate the screen once it has been magnified. And then we have ZoomText Magnifier Reader, which adds some speech output to really supplement what you're seeing. So you can have things, if you have eye fatigue or there's a long document and you don't feel like reading it visually because you're using magnification, you can have it read out loud to you. So it's basic speech output. It's not really navigation speech output, but it's basic speech output to have things read to you. And those are the two different flavors. And of course, we have various licensing options, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yep. So on the slide too, I threw in last minute an image of the Z with the smiley face there and the eyes. So that is Zoomy, which was released. She's part of 2021, right? So Douglas, you want to hit off and share more of what Zoomy does?
Sure. So you know, every new version, we try and add something new and exciting. And sometimes we'll add them in between new versions, but this one happened to be released just at 2021. We've added a voice assistant to JAWS and Zoom Text, which of course makes it included in Fusion. So Zoomy is the wake-up word for the voice assistant, much like you might say, you know, hey Google or Alexa. And then for JAWS, it's called Sharky, and which means my actual Google device is talking right now because I said the magic word. So what they do is you say the magic word to the wake-up word to your computer through the microphone, and you can ask it certain questions or give it certain commands, such as in Zoom Text, you can say, make it bigger, make it smaller, change the color. And with JAWS, you can say things like, you know, what title, what product am I in? What am I looking at? Or what's the time? Or what's the weather? And these are tools, you know, we're trying to make sure that we keep up to date with what's available in so-called mainstream as well. So having the ability to quickly get results from your software, whether it's making it bigger in Zoom Text or reading the title bar in JAWS, is what the idea behind it is.
Great. So the next slide here is going to talk a little bit about the different licenses of Zoom Text. Your first one is your home manual, and these were the home manual is fairly new as far as using our software license portal. And I do have a slide in this deck here later where we'll show you the portal and what it looks like. But it makes managing your license very easy in between computers. And you basically use your email address to log into our portal. You have options of 1, 3, or 5-year licenses when you purchase. And they're only available directly from our Freedom Scientific web store. And the cost is $80 per year for that license.
And keep in mind, Mike, too, these are for your home computer. These aren't work computers. These are for your home computer.
Great point. The next is the perpetual. So Douglas, I'll let you talk a little bit about perpetual Zoom Text.
So the perpetual license simply means that when you install it on your computer and you install, say, version 2021, if you don't upgrade it, it'll remain running on your computer, but it'll stay at version 2021. So that's what we mean by perpetual.
And when you purchase that, you have the option of purchasing a software maintenance agreement, which is the SMA, for 2 years. And the cost for Magnifier is $500 and Magnifier Reader is $700.
And just so you know, the real value to the SMA is that you're paying for 2 years at the same price that you would pay for a single upgrade. So you're pre-purchasing the next 2 versions at half off each.
The next slide is the JAWS license types, which will go over the same license types. And then you'll see I added an image there of Sharky on the bottom left. So kind of a smiley little looking shark, not one that's going to bite your arms off like a JAWS shark, right? He looks happy. He's not hungry. So JAWS also comes in home manual. And Douglas, if you want to chat a little bit about that home manual for that.
And again, much like the Zoom Text, the home manual allows you to install it on your home computers. These are for your home use. Think of it in some ways as a more or cost-effective way to manage it. It'll run for a year unless you buy a 3-year or a 5-year, and at the end of that year, you'll start getting notices. Hey, it's time to renew your license. And these are annual products. And again, like Mike pointed out earlier, you can buy them in 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year chunks.
Yes. So next slide here, let's see, is JAWS Perpetual. So as we discussed, same with Zoom Text, it's a 1-year license with the option to purchase that SMA. And the
One
cost,
version license.
say that again.
I'm sorry, it's a one version license, not a
Oh,
1
one
year
version,
license.
yes, thank you. And the cost for that is $1,000 for JAWS Perpetual. So the next slide is license types for Fusion, and that comes in the same packages, the annual, perpetual, and campus and statewide. So here's the information in Fusion Home Manual. And Douglas, you want to chat a little bit about that Home Manual for Fusion?
So mostly I'll talk about what Fusion is, if you don't mind, Mike, and just
No,
kind
not
of,
at all.
because as you all know, we have JAWS and ZoomText, but we also have this product Fusion. Now, Fusion can be thought of as a high level productivity tool for people who are low vision. So if you are a person who is using magnification of 6 times, 7 times, or 8 times, you're seeing less of the screen. 8 times, for example, is 1/64th of the screen, which is kind of looking at a checkerboard, but only seeing one square. So by using Fusion, you can start incorporating some of the speech output that's available with JAWS. So and these are, it's a good way to either transition to blindness, or for those who are using 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times magnification, it's a good way to supplement your magnification with speech. And this is full screen reading access. So all the keyboard commands that you would typically use with JAWS would be, like heading, H for headings and E for edit fields and the like. All of those are available in Fusion, and you get all the magnification. So as many of you know, the more you keyboard, the faster you can be, and especially if you're using higher ends of magnification. So Fusion kind of responds to that. We've added some features into Fusion that make it easier for people to start learning how to use the keyboard commands. We've also implemented what we call speech on demand, so that it can be intimidating when you first use magnification and start adding speech. So speech on demand is a way for you to use the keyboard commands that you would learn with JAWS, but it's not going to yap at you all the time. It will only talk to you when you give it a specific speech command. So as an example, if I'm using Microsoft Word and I've got speech on demand turned on, and I walk away and I come back to my desk and I can't remember what I was doing, I can do the speech command, insert T, and it'll read the title bar to me. But other than that, it won't speak. So it's a nice way to make that move from low vision to no vision and get used to the JAWS keyboard commands. And of course, as Mike pointed out, the home manual is the same as the other products in Home Manual. And when you do install it, you will get 3 icons on your desktop. One will be Fusion, one will be JAWS, one will be ZoomText, and you can select whichever one you feel like using that day.
I think that's a great point too, Douglas, and the fact that when schools or businesses or universities install this, the nice thing is you do get all 3 products, on your desktop. So if you install Fusion, you push it out over a network. It's super easy to do that. And then on the computers, you would have JAWS, ZoomText, or Fusion. So the student or the individual is then able to choose which one they want to use. And we made it really easy for the IT department. Those of you on here that are IT, IT and AT always kind of are at odds with each other, I find. We want to try and make it the easiest we can for the IT folks to install this and get it out there to everybody that needs it on a campus type of setup.
That's
Hey,
great.
Douglas,
And you
can
do
you,
have a good point there, Mike. I'm sorry, please, James, go ahead.
yeah, can you speak to automatic updates after install?
Of course, yeah. Let me just circle back to what Mike and finish off what Mike was saying, or at least highlight it. When you're a school and you have changing populations, and those populations can be anywhere from self-identified low vision, not self-identified low vision, and blindness, you have those changing populations from year to year. By installing Fusion on all the computers in the campus, you don't have to worry about the population types. You nearly have to worry about the population as a whole. So you're not worrying about, well, how many low vision people do I have, and how many no vision people do I have, and how many are both. By having Fusion, you're responding to all the needs of all the people and you're not having to concern yourself with the differing and changing populations. And now to respond to what James had to say, so during the course of a year, in between versions, when we, as Mike mentioned earlier, we release a new version in the October, early November time period. We push out about every 6 weeks, we push out an update. And these are in between updates that maybe we're responding to a quick change that Microsoft Office had made, or that Google and Chrome has made, because they pushed out a change to an update to their Chrome browser, and that of course would include Microsoft Edge, the new Chromium version. So during the course of the year, we will push out updates for those. We'll push out updates to respond to those, to make sure that JAWS, ZoomText, and Fusion are keeping up to date, keeping up with the changes that Google and Microsoft and others are doing. We also introduced this year a notification that you'll get on your computer when a new version is pushed out. So on November 15th of this year, everyone who owns a JAWS got a notification, hey, the new JAWS 2021 is available. And if you are eligible for it, it will show. If you're not eligible for it, it will not show. We originally sent it out where it showed that it was available and said it needs a new authorization, which confused some people, and they tried to install it and found out they weren't actually eligible for it. So now if you're eligible, it'll show, and if you're not, it won't show.
That's great. So one of the big highlights that I know, so we talked about the Fusion Home Annual being the same, and then Fusion Perpetual, of course, same as the JAWS and ZoomText Perpetual. And the next slide is kind of an important one to kind of share and talk about as far as campus-wide licensing and statewide licensing. You know, we highlighted a few campus-wide universities here, and one of them being the City University of New York. They were the first, right, Douglas, to kick off? They
were the first, yeah.
Yep. And they had great success with, I always mess this up. You think I would know this by now. Are they 25, 26 campuses?
26.
26. Okay. See, I'm taking one away all the time. But they went with all 26 campuses, and they did some presentations for us at Accessing Higher Ground. I believe even maybe at CSUN one year. They did a bunch of different stuff. UT Dallas was early on in the adoption process as well. Melinda spoke at CSUN this year, Melinda Colby from that university, and it was unfortunate because, of course, that was in March when COVID really hit, and it was like the attendance was really down. So it was unfortunate, but you know, they've had great success campus-wide. The more recent one was LA Community College District, but there's over 400 universities that have taken advantage of these campus-wide licenses and have access to these products on campus. And Douglas, anything to add to that, or James?
Yeah, I would add that the difference between what CUNY does and what other universities have done is that CUNY actually, they did all of the campuses, all of the locations, and throughout the entire CUNY system. Los Angeles Community College District, there's 9 schools. There are 9 separate locations throughout Southern California, Los Angeles County. And what they did is they created a system-wide license with us where they have unlimited access to JAWS and ZoomText and Fusion. And they also have some discounts on some of the hardware. And that's so that each school no longer has to worry about, oh, you know, how much of a license do I need? Do I need 5 user? Do I need whatever it is? It doesn't matter, because the entire system, the community college district, is taking care of everything. It's all been centralized, much like most of the software that they use on their network. So it's a great advantage, and there's some risk mitigation as well, because as you all know, sometimes changes, or sometimes there are lawsuits, and this helps to mitigate that risk, making sure that all the campuses are covered, so that there are no issues anywhere.
Yeah, I may also add that while this may be campus-wide license, students and faculty also have access to these products from their home computers, providing, of course, they have a valid school email address. So these products are available on campus as well as remote, which I believe is a significant value to the student population that needs it.
Absolutely, James. That's a huge point. I know anytime I'm talking to a college university, that's a huge plus for them, to be able to offer that via that portal to all faculty, staff, students with the school email address. I mean, it's great. And I think we're going ahead of ourselves with the COVID thing, but with that said, that was a huge plus during COVID because so many of these students are now working remotely, right? So they might not have access to a school computer or whatnot, so they can just download it on their personal machine at no cost to the university or to the student, as long as the campus stays current with the licenses there.
Yeah, and that's one of the value add that we have, programs that we have at Vispero and Freedom Scientific Software, is that if your school is current with their license and they keep their license up to date, we have a sponsorship program, as what we officially call it, and a web page where a student can go and they can plug in their EDU or their school email address. And if the school itself has a current license, it'll tell them, yes, you are eligible, click here. And an email will go out to that student, where that student has the ability to click through and download a current version of JAWS, ZoomText, or Fusion. And that product will run for a year. Now, at the end of that year, if they are still a student and they still have access to that .edu or that school email address, they'll be able to renew it at the end of the year. So as long as they're a student and as long as the school is keeping up to date, the students have access to that for home. It's not just students, there are faculty as well. And it's been a real, as Mike pointed out, it's been a real big deal for a lot of schools because a lot of schools are now working remotely. So even staff and faculty who are maybe blind or vision impaired and can take advantage of JAWS, ZoomText, or Fusion on their personally owned computers as well.
Yeah, I was actually, I will say, surprised. I had gotten early on to the COVID stuff, I had gotten some messages from these universities certain universities asking about staff, and many of the staff people were taking advantage of it too. So it was kind of exciting and nice to see, not just students.
And the other thing that we can do for you is if you do this for your school, if you want to participate in the sponsorship program and you keep your license update and you want to show that and on your disabled students page, we have all kinds of web content we can put on that we can give you for you to put on there, whether it's the icons of JAWS, ZoomText, and Fusion, or text, or even a direct link to the sponsorship page so they can plug in their email address. We're glad to help you with that. In your self-reporting on your accreditation, it's a nice thing to be able to say, here's what we do for our students with vision impairments. We offer them this program for their home computers so that no student is left behind with older software.
Yeah, and I know when I was at UT Dallas for an event, their CFO actually came over to a booth. We had a tech fair going on there, and I was surprised to see the CFO, was interested in learning more about the software that they were now offering, campus-wide, and they were really pushing the marketing for that with all incoming students. And then they put it on their, disability services webpage, and they were really pushing it to market to low vision and students that were blind as well, to kind of grow their base now that they were fully accessible as far as all that software across the campus. So it was nice. And then Douglas, you had a big hand in the statewide stuff going on. I have one of the states listed there, and that's good old sunny state of Florida.
Our own backyard.
Yeah.
So this is just quickly, the whole state of Florida, if you are a resident of the state of Florida and you are a client of the Florida Department of Blind Services, or Division of Blind Services rather, then you are eligible for a home use, well, it's not even home use, it's just eligible for a Florida DBS home annual license. And all you need to do is go to the Florida DBS website and click on Let Me Be a Client. And if you're a client, you're eligible for it. Every single resident in the state of Florida is eligible for it. Traditionally, when you become a client to a voc rehab of some sort, there are the precedence is given, or the initially they want you, it's voc rehab, vocational rehabilitation, but this is for every resident in any program that they're doing with the state of Florida. So they can just be training, or they can be older blind, or they can be a student. It doesn't really matter. Or maybe they just need the software. The state of Florida just helps provide that for them. We have also created a new program. It's kind of this is our first time with the state of, or Commonwealth of Massachusetts rather, that they now will distribute licenses of JAWS, Zoom Text, or Fusion to the older blind, because the older blind's needs haven't been met for a while since the changes to the WIOA, which is really just this is a voc rehab regulations where older blind weren't getting the same attention that people who were actively looking for work or in education. So the older blind program with the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind now, they are going to be distributing 5-year licenses to all their older blind customer or clients as well. And that's a brand new program. That's an annual program for them.
Good stuff. So the next slide I have here is actually showing what the portal looks like. So for those of you that have never accessed our portal, what happens when you go to the portal, you would have the area where you're going to fill in your email address. So I have my mwood@vispero.com, and then your password, and you would sign in. And then when you sign in, it changes to your products page. So I have product details here, and the type of product I have is different than most, but it's an organizational volume annual, and shows me when it expires. So it expires May 18th of 2021. It gives my serial number, who it was issued by, and then I can add a note in here. And the reason that the note's nice is I may have multiple computers that I'm using this on. And as you'll see down the bottom left here, this shows me this VFO laptop that I have, and it shows that it was activated on May 18th of 2020. I can click deactivate. And then if I go to another computer somewhere else and I log into this portal, I can just click up here and activate this computer. I actually have 3 installs available to myself. So I could activate this new computer, name it, whatever, grandma's house or something, wherever I may be going, right? And that makes it super easy. That's great for students as well if they're moving to different machines and they need to activate their own personal license on it, and then quickly and easily deactivate. If you don't have the software, installed on the computer already, when you click activate this computer, it will automatically start the process of installing the software and everything for you. So it's super easy, straightforward. I've got students in K-12 schools, doing this on their own. So it's not something you have to have a techie degree to do. Very straightforward.
And the other nice thing about it, Mike, is that let's say that you do go to grandma's house and you activate, you log into your portal on grandma's computer and you activate that computer with JAWS. And then you have fun, you kiss grandma goodbye and you go back home and like, oh no, I forgot to deactivate grandma's computer and now she's going to be confused. You can log in on your computer. You can see that you've got one activated on grandma's computer, even though you're hundreds of miles away, and you can just click on deactivate this computer and it will deactivate the JAWS in that computer and grandma will never know.
Which is great, because let me tell you, I'm not a JAWS user, but I know that when I started up and I'm running JAWS, oh, it's like, all right, enough, stop talking, wait. So, but it's great, when I am wanting it to talk, it's wonderful. That's a great point. And next slide here is just kind of the advantages during COVID. The ease of use with that portal that we just showed you. And then schools oftentimes have, campus-wide licenses or whatnot that can be shared with the students at home, that home access. And I've got actually some images on here of different devices that we're not really talking much about today, but some of our handheld video magnifiers or desktop video magnifiers as well that we also manufacture. And without this next slide, I think many of our users and even on our team ourselves may be lost. We have teacher support and training. I want to say within the last 2 years, maybe, we brought on a new team, and we kind of gave them full reins to run off with our support and training and rewrite all of our training and provide different, resources for the end user. And I've got to say the feedback has been phenomenal internally and externally. You've got your main training page where you can access everything, which is freedomscientific.com/training. The newest thing is teacher resources. Douglas or James, have you guys messed in those teacher resources at all?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the good thing for me, with being with the company for a while has been that when I'm out meeting with teachers, there's always this request for, do you have more training? They're hungry for this stuff. And the students are hungry for this. Their brains are just young and they're wanting to absorb all of this information, right? At my point in life, forget it. The less is more. But these teacher resources are actually modules that the teachers can go through at their own pace, or they can give to a student to go through at their own pace. And we're releasing one a month. This just started in October, so we've got October, November, and December's posted. I would definitely recommend you check that out. And then the webinars. So similar to this webinar here, but more in depth on webinars as far as doing, hardware as well as software. So you want to learn more about using JAWS with Google, Chrome, or using JAWS with PowerPoint. Do you want to learn about using Zoom text, and changing settings? So more in-depth webinars that are free. And I was bad on this. You can slap my hand. I forgot to mention that we are giving the Academy for Certification of Vision Rehab and Education Professionals, so ACVREP, CEUs. We're giving them today's webinar. The opening code, which I should have given at the beginning, was JAWS. I've noticed that nobody else has really joined in between, so we're safe here. So to get those credits for today's webinar, you email credits@vispero.com. So CREDITS, credits@vispero.com, and give the opening code, which is JAWS, and we'll give the closing code here at the end of the session. But a lot of our other events also offer these credits, which are super helpful. Anything that I've missed there, Douglas or James, before we go on to the next training?
I just wanted to add on the teaching resources, I've shared that link with a number of TVIs over the past several months since, everyone or most everyone is actually working from remote. And they found that to be a very important link, a resourceful link to their peers and to students, and to keep them engaged in what's available out there, or even to stay current with technology and new tips and tricks, so to speak. So I would highly recommend that those who are on this call today to access those links on our website and find some relevant information there that you can share with your team.
Right. And just to go on top of what James says, the way to be successful with your software is to know how to use your software. The better you know how to use the software, the more successful you're going to be, the more independent, the more productive you're going to be. Our training team has been outstanding in producing bite-sized, easy to self-pace yourself and learning new things, providing things for teachers, because teachers, as many of you know, you don't have the time to really learn how to do everything, and you're not doing it every day like I am. I'm using JAWS every day, and a lot of your students may be using JAWS or Zoom Text or Fusion every day, but you may not be. So it's a great way to keep your brain fresh on how to use JAWS, keep up to date with what's going on with JAWS, Zoom Text, and Fusion, And these are bite-sized modules. These are self-pacing, and they've really done an outstanding job. I also recommend that you go to our website and freedomscientific.com/training and sign up for our blog and our FScast, because that's where we make announcements about new webinars and we give you more information. We don't inundate you with lots of different emails and everything, but it allows you to keep up to date with what's new. What are we doing now? How are other people using successfully our products? We have these FScast, which is really a radio broadcast in which they talk about different things that we're doing at Vispero and different partnerships that we've had. So I encourage you to do that. We also have a podcast, and so go to your favorite podcast app and you can put in Freedom Scientific Training. It's Freedom Scientific Training Podcast, and we actually have podcast content as well.
And you can ask your favorite device too, right? Your smart device, Alexa or Google.
You can ask for it. Yep, for the FScast, correct. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I know that was an exciting thing for those that are using, the Alexa or Google. And the archives of these are amazing too, because, I was talking to, I did a presentation last week, and there was actually a long-term JAWS user that was on there that wasn't aware of some of this training that we had available. And she was asking about using JAWS with Microsoft Office or something in Microsoft Office. And I went on to our, archived webinar list, and there's tons of different archived webinars on there. And there was one on that I was then able to share with her the link to it. And the same with the podcast. There's 12 years of history there. So if you're ever having a hard time sleeping and go on there and have some fun. No.
But so, you're good point, Mike, because every webinar that we do, everything that we do is all archived. It's all easily found and searched on. I'm completely and thoroughly impressed with what our training team has done.
Yeah, and they're open to, and their email address is training@vispero.com, and they're open to input, or if you have recommendations of trainings that you want to see in the future, drop an email to them, or if you forget that email address, drop an email to one of the three of us here, the A team, and we'll take care of you that way as well, and forward that on. I don't know if anybody here is in the K-12 realm as well. I know most are, I think, higher ed, but for those in the K-12 realm, the American Printing House for the Blind is also teaming up with us on doing these, and they're kind of geared towards any age level, but just because of who they are, they're predominantly K-12, but they're doing a lot as well. So without further ado, I think we're at the Q&A section. If there's any questions, feel free. I think you have the ability to unmute yourself, right? Or raise your hand, chat it up in the chat box, whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you, James, Michael, and Douglas, for that. I did want to. It's not a question, but more of a point I kind of wanted to make about the accessibility. I remember a while ago, probably about 10, 12 years ago, with technology was a lot more expensive. And so rather than, accessibility really being truly spread out throughout a campus, you would have probably one or two labs that would have software like JAWS and Zoom Text. And so the ability for, campus-wide licenses, and also the licenses for individuals to work at home, that's pretty amazing, because, basically the whole thing about accessibility is for things to be accessible. So wherever a student is, if they're in a math lab or English lab, that they have these items available. And it's very interesting. I was really not aware of the Florida license with through the Division of Blind Services. And so that's actually, I don't know how well known that is, but that's actually pretty great, because we have a couple people here from Florida. So that's pretty good. I do for those programs, those grant funded programs, PBI and TRIO. I would I would probably urge that you check with your institution to see because Zoom Text and JAWS it's pretty well known and pretty standard at most institutions. So that's definitely a thing. Any questions or any comments from our co-host at all?
I do have a question regarding. I heard one of you mentioned helping instructors, specifically individuals who during this time were forced to transition into teaching online because of COVID. And many of them, this is their first experience in doing so. Has your company or any other decided to use this time to actually prove to colleges and individuals, I guess individual institutions or stakeholders, the absolute necessity of having the appropriate training, of having the appropriate amount of interaction with certain software before they're just thrown into the fire in this way, and how it impacts learning. Because I work with K-12 students, many of our students are suffering, not because they don't have a skill set and not because they're not in some way academically inclined. It's in many cases because of how the content is being delivered and how it's being, in many ways, compromised by the lack of ability of the individual that is doing the presentation or using whatever platform or software. They just don't, that particular person doesn't understand it or know how to use it. But is anyone studying that, anyone that you are with researching that, so that when the data comes out, it actually serves as a catalyst for change, and it puts our students in a better position so that some of these folks that are the education providers can be held accountable for putting our kids in a better situation?
Mike?
Yeah, that's a great point, great question. We have, I think right at the beginning, we offered all the software for free to anybody that needed it for, I forget how many months, then we extended it after the beginning of COVID. I personally have worked with a lot of TVIs at the K-12 level, and it's been a major struggle, believe me. With the students being at home, trying to teach Braille and things like that to students that are remote, not easy. But with JAWS having Tandem built into it, it's been really good. I know we've done a ton of student licenses through ourselves and through the American Printing House for the Blind at the K-12 level. I didn't touch on this earlier, but they're available in quota funds as well, which has really helped out that K-12, need. And what we've done for those teachers are offer webinars through the American Printing House for the Blind, and then also ourselves through our training department, and help teachers learn how to use Tandem. And then that way they can link up with the student remotely and do some of that education and see what's going on the student's machine and vice versa. So that's definitely been helpful. I know another new feature, and Douglas, you may talk about this know more than I know about it as well, but is the Braille viewer in the latest version of JAWS, which is really helpful for, parents. You might not be a Braille user, right? So you've got a student at home now, and they're low vision or blind, or they're blind and they're using Braille, and you're not a Braille user. Their teacher they translated everything at school, but now you're a parent, you've got to step into that role of helping out a little bit more, right? And with that Braille viewer, it translates the Braille to regular text. So your student could be typing in Braille, your child, and then you're able to see in regular text what it's saying on the screen. So you can proofread and check things out. So that was a big thing. We do have a gentleman that we hired on a year ago, and what's his name, Joel. And Joel is doing, gosh, I'm blanking on the
User
word.
experience
Yeah, user. Thank you.
studies.
Yeah, so he's doing, surveys, and prior to COVID, he was going out and meeting with individuals, and so we do have someone doing that user, research to try and figure out what we need to do on software and hardware to make our products, more user friendly and accessible.
And to speak a little bit, I think more on schools and how they choose to do the remote learning and different LMS they're using. There are multiple kinds of LMS, or what are they? LMS stands for Learning Management System.
Yep.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
Yes.
And so, and some of them are more accessible than others. Unfortunately, the world that we live in is, oftentimes accessibility is thought of as a feature and not part of the overall philosophy or architecture. We're always fighting that battle, and we're always there to help work with that. One part of our company, the Paciello Group, works extensively with different software manufacturers to help them with their accessibility. But insofar as, trying to teach 400 different colleges and innumerable amounts of K-12 schools about it's really, it's not practical for us, for one, but it's there's so many disparate ways of doing it, and a lot of times the decision makers they forget about accessibility unfortunately until it comes to a lawsuit. So a lot of times a lot of children are left behind, simply because the school itself did not take accessibility into consideration when COVID happened. And I do know that there are schools that are having to go back and rethink how they do things. That being said, things like Teams and Zoom in particular, we've done an awful lot of work on making sure that what we do with Zoom works well. We have some scripts that are built in. Teams, we have a relationship with Microsoft, where we're actually working in tandem with them to make sure that Teams provides the most access to all of their clients and all of their users as well. So there are a lot of efforts on every side insofar as in our space, and in blindness and low vision. I don't know if we really answered your question though.
No, I'd love to see the efforts of every industry that is out to truly provide options for accessibility in any space, and just wondering what the mindset is around really trying to benefit. COVID has been tough for everybody, but there is some good data points that will come out of this that will allow us to progress forward and provide solutions in the future. So that's really what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I appreciate your answer.
And organizations like AFB and NFB, those are the ones that are doing these monster studies on the impact of COVID for students that are blind or vision impaired.
Yeah, there was a research study that came out not too long ago that we were involved in promoting. I can't recall what it is. If you are more interested in that, Antonio, just drop me a note and I'll email it to you. I've got the PDF of the research and whatnot, but how it impacted different areas. But yeah, I will say we're definitely interested in learning more how we can be more helpful. And that, I think COVID has really shown our team too. We're doing so much remotely and so much of that training. And I feel like, obviously I think you can sit here and kind of dwell on the negative aspects of it, but I've seen a lot of positive come out of it. And personally, I really can't say it's been a horrible year for me. I've grown as a person. I think our company has grown. I've met people virtually that I never would have met prior. And, the wheels are still spinning. So there's been some good that's come out of it.
Well, thank you, James, Michael, and Douglas. We really appreciate it. We are recording this, and so we're also going to have it for our attendees to be able to to see this after. So
Great.
we got your email information in there. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to present to our attendees. I believe in your products, and I think it does make a big difference for our students. And we just really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for having us.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Very much so. Thank you.
All right, no problem.